Hey, welcome back guys, it's Maverick here with another episode of Code Geass. Last episode was more of a fun one, I guess you could say. You guys have mentioned before that this series does kind of interlace the more serious parts with the school life kind of parts. So, with that being said, I would expect this episode to be more serious, right? Certainly, we also have the entire integration thing with Suzaku going on as well. It'll be interesting to see what he does, and if he has any effect on Lushu's sort of ideals and whatnot now that they have a chance to talk more with each other. But, well, let's just see what the next arc actually is about. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Well, I say arc, but I'm not really sure if it's an arc. 8 years ago, eh? Ooh. Well, hello. Okay, yeah, this is after his mom was killed. Hysterical blame. Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely... The Emperor, I mean, is definitely a kind of asshole. At the same time, though, I feel like Lelouch probably should have realized that the Emperor was this kind of person. Like, I wonder if... No, I'm not gonna go into, like, how much of an asshole the Emperor is, right? I think that goes without saying, and whatnot. But I'm just thinking, like, if this was a more mature Lelouch, for example. Like, if he wasn't just 8, and let's say he was... I don't know, maybe he was 15, or 13, or something like that. A little bit wiser, right? Like, I'm sure he's smart, but wisdom and intelligence are two different things. I feel like he might have handled that situation a bit better and achieved what he was trying to get, which is vengeance, right? Justice. I feel like there are, even though certainly the Emperor has made his decision on this, I feel like he could be convinced if you appeal to him from a different perspective. Like, appealing through emotional distraught, this is never gonna work. I could have told you, even without seeing this scene. Just by hearing him talk in the last episode. But if he had instead packaged it under the guise of, I don't know, like pride or stability or whatnot. Ooh. A warrant officer now. Hmm? I think I saw Henry the Ninth here. She definitely. Anyways, so regarding some of the comments I got in the last episode, I do remember, right, that Lucia is being protected by the family who are in charge of the school. But my main point is, how did he decide to still use the name Lucia? Okay. Yeah. This is a competent leader. Oh, good question, C2. Mm. Yeah, that kind of goes without saying. Oh. This dude. And what about Nunali? Would you really just leave this life? Why does this guy look like Superman? I just realized. Wouldn't that. I kind of forgot what that girl was. The one who's working with the purebloods. Wouldn't she recognize Liu Shu? That yes, my lord, seriously sounds like completely brings me out of it. Let me guess, is Suzaku going to make an appearance in this one as well? Now that you guys have mentioned it, yeah, I do see it. He's using basically chess units for the acronyms, for the call signs. And you're walking directly into her trap. Hmm? Multiple personality? You found that's I was just about to say that. Oh, you're here as well. You guys picked the worst times. Yeah, good job. Is this phone going to ring at the most inopportune moment once again? Uh-oh. Oh. Boom. Ooh, directly into the cockpit as well. Now they're playing chess. Wasn't that kind of obvious? What to do, what to do. Nah, you'll be dead instantly. Hmm? Oh. C2? He would have a fallback plan. Yeah. Oh? Now you're talking big. Alright, see you guys after this. Well, there we go. Lulushu was certainly served a big piece of humble pie this episode. If it wasn't for C2, he would be dead. So, at the very least, though, it seems that he's really, decided to hunker down and start doing things from a more macro scale instead. Like, certainly what he's doing is impressive and all that, right? Don't get me wrong. If what you simply want to do was to annoy the occupation as much as possible, right? Guerrilla warfare can only take you so far, right? But when you're trying to achieve a goal of toppling an entire empire, well, guerrilla warfare just isn't going to cut it, right? Not from just an isolated region such as this. You're either going to have to ally yourselves with some outside powers and work with them, or you're going to have to really build up your own resistance force, right? Because even though certainly you're very capable in terms of your tactics and whatnot, and you have good brains, you know how to infiltrate the enemy and get information and do counterintelligence and all that. But at the end of the day, there's a big difference between, someone like Cornelia, who is personally leading her troops in the front line, versus someone like Lulushu, who's just calling shots from the dark and without even really building any sort of rapport or support from within the troops, right? So he's really going to have to do something else about that. He has to build up his army, he has to organize them, he has to train them to obey orders, and so on and so forth. Like, even back in, let's say, in the United States Revolutionary War, or the American Revolutionary War against the British Empire, they had to do a lot of that as well, right? Even though they were disorganized, they relied a lot on guerrilla warfare as well. At the end of the day, they still had to have time to really train themselves into, actual organized professional army, right? That definitely played a big role in them eventually winning as well. But anyways, so he certainly learned his lesson, and he's probably already planning to go about this and thinking about how he can actually form a true army, right? Let's talk a little bit about Cornelia, because right now, from the last episode, once she or was that last episode? I think 2 episodes before, actually, when she first arrived. I instantly knew that this was not someone to be trifled with, right? And her capabilities on the battlefield, her as a pilot and whatnot, that's one thing. But seeing her get to Japan and instantly, no nonsense. What are you throwing a party for? Give me the reports and whatnot. That she is a very capable and competent commander. In fact, in looking at her in this episode, I'm instantly reminded of General Romwell from World War II. Because I think they also exuberate a sort of similar style, right? They're both, very hands-on commanders going to the front lines. Compared to Clovis, though, right? Clovis seems to be he seemed to have been on the front line because he had nothing better to do. Whereas in Cornelia's case, she's there because she believes she's the best person suited to lead the army personally, right? Lead the forces personally to get the thing done, right? Because if you want something done correctly, you gotta do it yourself. So I'm definitely seeing parallels here, at least. Now, whether or not Cornelia is more, whether she has some other political ideologies driving her or whatnot, we'll have to see about that later. But as of right now, I definitely feel that she's a very competent commander, and someone with actual military experience is not to be trifled with. Lu Shu, as smart as he is still more of a theoretical tactician rather than one with practical experience, right? So there is still a gap there, but hey, that is something which as your experience gets more and more, especially in Lu Shu's case, I would probably guess he regards the rebels as expendable assets, right? And if he can use that to increase his personal experience in these things, he'll probably gladly accept that and all that. So yeah. Anyways, so that's Cornelia. What else in this episode? The very beginning, right? I was talking about how Lu Shu, obviously as an 8-year-old boy or whatnot, would want to go and seek out his father's help or whatnot, the Emperor's help to resolve the situation. Again, just to reiterate what I already said before, I feel like even though the Emperor is clearly an asshole, right? But at the same time, I feel like Lu Shu should have known that this was not going to appeal. He's not going to gain anything by appealing to the Emperor in this sort of way. And in fact, I feel like if he were a little bit more mature, he's certainly smart, right? So maybe not, he doesn't need to be like an adult or anything, but maybe more 4 or 5 years more under his belt or whatnot, he probably would have gone to it from another way, another perspective. Like, certainly, I would have to say, though, born into royalty and born into a society such as the Britannian Empire, I feel like this is to be expected, right? Even looking at history, even without being in an empire which values your achievements and values your own strength so much as the Britannian Empire, look at the empirical dynasties of China. Look at some of the royal houses in Europe and whatnot, and you basically get the same idea as well. People are always going to be vying for power, right? So these power struggles, these power games, kind of go with the territory. You can consider it just as the the burden that comes with being born as a royalty. Certainly, you receive a lot of good stuff, right? You're born into a life of wealth, of luxury. As the Emperor said, all that you're wearing, your clothes, your position and whatnot were granted to you, not because of anything you did, but because you were born into this position, right? You haven't really achieved anything yet. So, from that perspective, I guess you can't really... technically the Emperor is correct, right? Now, the only thing asshole about all this is that, I would say maybe give a little bit more leeway to someone who's not even an adult yet. But at the same time, again, I feel like this kind of goes with the territory, right? Now, certainly with that being said, how exactly could he have convinced the Emperor in this sort of condition, right? Because certainly, being like, oh, that's not fair, they're attacking while I don't have any power or whatnot. I reckon the Emperor is just gonna be like, well, sucks to be you, right? That's your own damn fault, and whatnot. Probably the only way to appeal to him would be some combination of appealing to his pride and appealing to, I guess, more sort of political grandstanding or whatnot, right? Like, such as saying, these guys are too, even though court struggles and whatnot are part of the game and all that. It's going too far when you're actually just inviting armed forces into the palace, right? So in this case, it's just simply assassinating a fellow royalty member. What if they actually turned their guns into someone like you, right? Like the emperor. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't really completely thought this through. I'm just kind of thinking that perhaps there would be some kind of other way to appeal to the emperor using another method. It's just that you have to understand his his thinking, his ideology, and then appeal to that instead. I do feel like he could be convinced, though. He could be convinced to take up this case. He could be convinced to at least give some power to Lu Dushou for him to resolve this situation. Definitely, I don't think in any sort of scenario would the emperor just directly say, okay, sure, I'll help you weed these guys out or whatnot. But I think, in a best case scenario, at least Lu Dushou would be able to get some resources in order to try and fight back or do some kind of thing, right? But as it stands, that is just a what-if kind of scenario. He decided to appeal directly to the emotional side, which obviously isn't going to work, and so there we have it now, right? And now we have Lu Dushou with a burning hatred against the Emperor, against the Empire, against Britannia, and so thus we have this story. So, that pretty much concludes everything I want to talk about this episode. I guess not really too much of a conclusion in terms of anything, but just really just going through the different points and pointing out various aspects that I connected with or I want to expand on in terms of this series. So, anyways, looking forward to the next episode, and let's see how exactly Lu Dushou is going to start building his army. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.